And it's time for Lefties Losing It. The worst vice president in our lifetimes is in Australia. Yes, Kamala Harris reportedly earned hundreds of thousands of dollars to speak at a real estate conference on the Gold Coast. I'm serious. She was headlining with other really serious world figures like Maurizio, you know, he's from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Yes, real estate agents, or realtors as the Yanks call them, paid upwards of $1,500 to hear pearls of wisdom from the word salad specialist herself. And wowie, didn't they get their money's worth? She pulled out this all-time Kamala classic.
They see what can be, and they're unburdened by what has been.
Profound, still profound, the 10,000th time I've heard her say it. Indeed, the entire experience was reportedly a hot mess of incoherent word salads. The Daily Mail reports Kamala Harris left the audience baffled as she laughed and talked about Playboy magazine covers and launched into a confusing word salad after being asked about the importance of humility. But I want to know more about the Playboy magazine segue, please.
She would say, you look at, we're in the store or whatever, you look at the cover of Playboy magazine. Let me just tell you, the reason that people are looking at these things, understand why they were developed, for the perpetuation of the human species.
Okay, that made a lot of sense. I'm sure that will help real estate agents sell plenty of houses, as will this bit of inspiring rhetoric about never accepting the word no.
I don't hear no. I eat no for breakfast. I don't hear no until maybe the 10th time. I cannot tell you the many times that it has been explicitly or implicitly said to me, it's not your time. You're not ready. They're not ready. Nobody like you has done this. And then when I love, it's going to be a lot of hard work. Don't you listen?
Oh, Kamala, you should listen, because it's not your time. You're not ready. We don't want you. You are not president. The American people said no in emphatic fashion last November. And hopefully you've heard the message, because no means no. Now, let's have a little fun and frivolity courtesy of the Nelk boys, who played a hilarious prank on the parents of a young woman by pretending that she is dating some lefty losing it TDS sufferer. Watch this.
Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho, ho. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, how are you guys? Hi, babe.
Oh, hey.
How are you?
Hi, babe. How are you?
Do I have consent to take this on your cheek?
Yeah.
Okay. How are you?
How you doing?
How are you?
Very nice to
Smile.
meet you.
Did you notice he asked for consent before kissing her on the cheek? How long before these parents lose their patience with this Democrat boy wooing their daughter?
For the happening, we don't have tofu here.
That's just a bit upsetting.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, what's your pronouns? Are you he, she, or they?
Them.
Them? Okay, them. Them, I will have the mushroom quesadilla, yeah. Thank you, them. Yeah.
They're trying hard to keep it together, but I don't think it's going to last, because let's add a MAGA hat to proceedings and see what happens next.
Excuse me, sir.
Kyle, hold on.
Sir.
Hold on.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, how does it feel to be driving a fascist mobile?
It's a great car.
Yeah, I can actually drive myself. I don't need a self-driving car.
Kyle, listen.
Are you
You're
intentionally
are you trying to piss us off? Because I'm getting pissed off. Real
Well, I'm pissed off too, because there's a Make America Great Again hat. There's a Tesla here.
So what?
And this country is going fascist right in front of us.
You don't even know what fascist means.
I don't?
No, you don't.
I'll show you what fascist means. I'll show you what fascist means. I'll show you what fascist means. How's that for fascist? Yeah. Enough AI. I'm done with that AI. Guys, you guys are on a hidden prank show. We're totally messing with you.
Now, here's a blast from the past, and my word, how things can change so dramatically in 5 years. Yes, 5 years ago we had Nancy and the rest of the race-baiting Democrats taking a knee for George Floyd, and the anti-American, anti-police, anti-nuclear family neo-Marxist of BLM.
We gather in honor of those Americans and so many others. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Botham Jean.
Yes, just 5 years ago when I and just a handful of others in the media were pointing out the absurdity of all that. Remember that era of every idiot posting a black square on their Instagram page to show their solidarity with that movement? And then there was the weeping, so much weeping. Here is Mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, sobbing like a little schoolgirl at George Floyd's funeral.
Don't you be afraid. Joy comes in the morning.
And against that backdrop, we had mass violence, arson, looting and destruction costing around $2 billion. Let's bring in Sky News contributor Kosha Gada. Kosha, 5 years on, what have we learnt from the BLM riots and that race agenda?
A few things. 5 years gives a perspective that time and distance can give. The first thing that jumped out at me from that footage was peak virtue signaling, and we're past that peak. Just the whole thing, Nancy Pelosi and friends in the ethnic African garb, which confused me because we were told that's cultural appropriation, but not when she does it in this context. And then she's kneeling with very expensive shoes. You could see that didn't escape my attention as well, that juxtaposition. And of course the mask, because it was during COVID era, under the chin, more virtue signaling, either it works or it doesn't, but they're trying to do both. So I think all of that, the absurdity of all of that is now clear. And I think the other thing that changes with the election results the way that have happened, the whole DEI edifice is crumbling, or at least cracking, and that's giving political cover and social cover to people in the culture to push back on, I think, what we all saw as absurdity, but maybe the cost for pushing back was too high 5 years ago, and now it's...
The cost was high. It was almost unanimous when it came to the celebrity corporate class. They were all jumping on this BLM bandwagon. And with that funeral, that very public George Floyd funeral, at a time where so many couldn't say goodbye to their loved ones because there were all sorts of limits on funerals. So it just brought it home even more that the elite were operating with their own rules. Now to the woman who wanted to be president, who was raising money, bail money for thugs arrested during the BLM riots. Well, Kamala Harris was in Australia to speak to a conference of real estate agents.
The Gold Coast highway shut for a motorcade of unmistakable authority. 9 unmarked SUVs, police motorbikes and a full US Secret Service detail.
Look at all the cars. Wow.
Unbelievable. Oh, it's just next level.
State and federal police patrolling the perimeter of presidential-style protection and entrance for the headline speaker.
Miss Kamala Harris.
Presidential-style protection, why? What do you make of Kamala's visit down under? She's certainly regaled the land rats with her keen insights, with word salads and rambling segues. Is this her future, Kosha, the speaking circuit?
I think so. I'm afraid so. And that's just the era we live in, that once you're part of the club, president, vice president, or a candidate, even a failed one, you only fail upwards. She just signed with CAA, the preeminent talent agency in the world, in February. Her speaking fee is a rumored $200,000 to $300,000 USD.
She's uniquely bad at speaking.
I know, and that's
what I find incredible.
So absurd. And maybe that's why she came all the way to the other end of the world here in Australia, which has put Australia this week on the map, and probably not in the way we would like, because people are paying real money, hard-earned money, to go to this conference and listen to her, among others. But it feels to me like it's her training ground. Go as far away, do general leadership speaking at a real estate conference at the other end of the world, and then she's working her way back up to whatever her plan is.
Oh, it would have thought it was a little bit beneath the dignity of the office of a former vice president to be at a real estate conference on the Gold Coast. And for our American friends, what would that be like? It's not exactly Vegas. It would be
Something like that.
Atlantic City, kind of that kind of vibe.
That's probably better.
And the real estate agents apparently paid between $900 and $1,700 for this 2-day extravaganza, a bunch of different speakers, Kamala obviously being one of them. But if that is her future, I'm going to wonder who's going to give even 200,000 or 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, all those figures have been rumoured, to hear her speak, because it's not her strength.
No, it's not. Uniquely bad at that she is, as you say. And I think the staying power of the speaking fees will be interesting to see. This industry, though, it's a little bit cloak and dagger. You sign with CAA, they book you, whether you're a good speaker or not. You charge your fees for a period of time, and it can work. Whereas if she were to ever venture into something where you have to stand on your own 2 feet, like a podcast, we're seeing Michelle Obama struggling with that. That's where I think it might be more difficult.
Oh my gosh. I do pray for a Kamala podcast, because the amount of material it would give me for this program would be overwhelming. Please, Kamala, consider a podcast. Now, meanwhile, POTUS, President of the United States, was at Arlington National Cemetery today in honour of Memorial Day.
Every child that lives in peace, every home that is filled with joy and love, every day the Republic stands is only possible because of those who did what had to be done when duty called, and the cost was everything to them and to their families. Our debt to them is eternal, and it does not diminish with time. It only grows.
Kosha, it was a strong speech, and despite the usual suspects in the media treating the Trump presidency like it's a perpetual crisis, the military, the men and women of the armed forces have been boosted by the Trump administration. You only have to look at the recruitment numbers to see evidence of that. They're having a huge surge in the number of people who are joining after a long period of having trouble attracting recruits.
Absolutely. That is the ultimate metric. In a voluntary system where you don't have a draft, how many people actually want to sign up to represent their country, and what are they motivated by? And recruitment was a huge challenge. On top of that, they also had attrition because of the vaccine mandates. A lot of people left. So some of the best and brightest were gone, and new people weren't signing up. And that has been like a 180 turnaround. Obviously, Vance and Pete Hegseth have had their controversies, and people in the media are out to get them, but they are aspirational figures. You look at that image of the two of them sitting behind Trump. 2 years ago, that would have been Kamala Harris and Lloyd Austin sitting behind Biden.
Quite an upgrade.
It is.
Quite an upgrade.
Certainly, if you're a young recruit, this is quite inspirational.
Absolutely. Now, before you go, there has been a further development since Donald Trump called out the anti-white racism, anti-white violence in South Africa. Let's hear from Julius Malema, a parliamentarian and the founder and leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters.
I will never be intimidated by America. I will never be intimidated by Donald Trump. They were speaking about me in that meeting at White House. If they were not gossiping about me, they should have called me into that meeting. I would have answered everything that Donald Trump wanted from us.
Unapologetic, not backing down, and he again led chants of kill the boer, kill the farmer. I think Donald Trump, if nothing else, has succeeded in shining a light on this very important issue that other world leaders have ignored. And we saw during the horrors of apartheid, just about every world leader take a stand, whether there were sanctions, whether they were speaking out. But this is been ignored up until now.
And Trump really is the master at shaping narratives and using the bully pulpit to force the media to focus on whatever the issue of the day is. He's not missing a beat. Malema over here, he continues to say many, many vile things. He will not be invited to the White House. I think that's a little bit above his pay grade. Yes. But he is certainly making hay from that meeting and is not backing down. So the more he does that, hopefully that, coupled with Trump's strategy, does get more global media and world leaders paying attention to it, but it just seems very difficult for most of them to take the kind of stand that they did when the racists were in reverse.
Well, it was very interesting because obviously he's never going to be part of the South African team visiting, but the South Africans did take along a couple of golfers to try to, I don't know, appeal to Donald Trump's love of golf, and he would certainly know who those players were. They're elite players. But one of them then told a story about how his family's involved in farming and they've been impacted by this violence. They've had to deal with people trying to burn down their farm and go after them. So as much of the media has tried to paint this as some sort of a right-wing conspiracy, the evidence there is overwhelming.
That was quite remarkable. Like, on one level, I kind of felt bad for the South African president because he came with the strategy, brought the golf legends, and then the meeting took a different turn. But the fact that one of them validated that point, that's interesting. Actually, I didn't know if the president of South Africa knew that was going to happen, or because that kind of gave a crack.
Well, I don't think he knew he was going to have a TV screen rolled in and a 6-minute tape of anti-white violence played for him. So yeah, he next time a world leader goes into the Oval Office,
be prepared.
I'm sure they will be prepared, or else. Kosha Gada, thank you so much for
your time. Always a pleasure.
Tonight. Joining me now is comedian and host of Prime Time with Alex Stein on Blaze TV. Alex Stein, let's start with a little phenomenon we've seen in recent times of some very famous, very influential atheists rethinking their worldview, and they don't come much more influential than Joe Rogan. Have a listen to this.
Terence McKenna had a great line about the difference between science and religion is that science only asks you for one miracle. I want you to believe in one miracle, the Big Bang.
Yeah. That's a good one.
It's a great line.
Yeah.
It's because it really is true.
Yes.
And it's funny because people would be incredulous about the resurrection of Jesus Christ, but yet they're convinced that the entire universe was smaller than the head of a pin, and for no reason that anybody's adequately explained to me that makes sense.
Yeah. No.
Instantaneously became everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't buy that.
I'm sticking with Jesus on that one. Like, Jesus makes more sense.
Alex, the New York Post reports that Joe Rogan is attending church. Is it a miracle? Has he seen the light?
Well, Rita, I would say it is a miracle, but I mean, if you look at what Joe Rogan's going through, I'm not surprised considering that the science has been wrong about so many things lately. I mean, just when it comes to the pandemic and the lockdown, and especially when it comes to this trans science, telling, children that they're born in the wrong body. So I think Joe Rogan, a guy that's had a lot of scientists on his show, a guy that I think respects science more than probably an average person, has lost his faith in science and has found his faith in God. So I'm not surprised. And really, science is yet to explain how, all life arose from non-living matter. I mean, just the idea that everything came from nothing and that we evolved from pond scum. I mean, it just sounds highly unlikely. And that's what Joe is saying. And I think it's obvious. And, there's a lot of different religions. So there's a lot of different paths to God. But I think that, it's obvious that we have a soul. I believe we have a soul. And Joe Rogan's figuring that out, and it's better late than never. So, God bless Joe Rogan. I hope that he encourages more people to try to get more connected with, the spiritual creator, whoever that may be for each individual.
Well, Alex, I do think a lot of individuals, a lot of men in particular, were red-pilled during the COVID era. Because you look at Joe Rogan, people think he's some right-wing reactionary. He's always been of the left. He was a big backer of Bernie Sanders. He was a Democrat pretty much all his life. And it wasn't until COVID where he saw how the media lies and manipulates. They went after him because he took, I think it was ivermectin when he got COVID, and they were accusing him of all sorts of craziness that he knew wasn't true. And that seemed to really change his entire worldview and how he saw not just the media, but the scientific fraternity, and how there's ideological capture with them as well. They're not sticking to the facts at all times.
No, I mean, to accuse him of taking horse dewormer constantly on CNN and every lamestream media outlet, that would make him lose his faith in the mainstream media and mainstream science.
That's it. Now, from the sublime to the ridiculous, Bruce Springsteen keeps annoying fans who've paid good money to hear him sing his classics. Instead, they're copying undergraduate rants like this.
There's some very weird, strange, and dangerous shit going on out there. In America, they are persecuting people for using their right to free speech and voicing their dissent. This is happening now. In America, the richest men are taking satisfaction in abandoning the world's poorest children to sickness and death. This is happening now.
Oh gosh, he's really too old to be this stupid, Alex. You can tell from the small smattering of applause there that the audience want him to stop ranting and to start singing.
Well, Rita, it's quite embarrassing when you look at Bruce Springsteen, one of the richest musicians in America, who's had an incredible career, but he cannot heal from his Trump derangement syndrome. And I know that's a cliche at this point, just accusing everybody of having it, but you know, Rosie O'Donnell actually moved out of the country. This guy is in front of an audience of his adoring fans, and all he wants to do is talk about the person he hates the most in the world. Like, that is a mental illness. That's a sickness. He needs to go and enjoy the audience that he has in front of him instead of putting them through some sort of college lecture. It's embarrassing.
Well, it was a undergraduate college lecture. It was just so ridiculous. And some of the things he said about the suppression of free speech, you're saying this in the UK, where you're getting people arrested for just tweeting biological facts. Really, if he's concerned about free speech, he would be concentrating on what's happening in the UK. Let's listen to this further rant from Bruce.
This is all happening now. The majority of our elected representatives have failed to protect the American people from the abuses of an unfit president and a rogue government.
You're right about Rosie O'Donnell. At least she followed through with what she said she was going to do, which was to flee the country. She's still bleating about Donald Trump 24/7. He's obviously still living rent-free in her head. But what about these celebs who campaigned throughout the election season? Bruce was at Kamala's rallies. He sang, he performed, he tried to boost her in whatever way he could. And in the end, she lost comprehensively. Are they ever going to accept that this is the will of the American people?
Well, I don't think they will. I mean, I don't understand how they cannot see that over half the country likes Donald Trump. So that means that over half of his fans like Donald Trump. I mean, this is just a harsh reality that they cannot accept. I know the fact that they were all fans. I can guarantee that you can find clips of Bruce Springsteen liking or praising Donald Trump before he ran for president. So it just doesn't make sense. They just need to let it go and just, I would say, go along to just try to make his life better, his fans better. But instead, these people want to constantly fight and defend people like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, who are, just so incompetent when they were in office. It's really sad, Rita, but that's the Hollywood elite. That's what these musicians, that's why they all stink. And that's why the culture is shifting so dramatically.
Now, the Trump administration has been very strong on the trans issue. They campaigned heavily on it, and they've just announced the so-called gender-affirming procedures, the gender-affirming model, is no longer going to be funded through Medicaid.
Medicaid will no longer be used to pay for barbaric gender mutilation procedures on minor children.
Well, promises made, promises kept, Alex. It's not just the US. We've seen the same thing in the UK, where they're pretty much banned puberty blockers for under 18. There's been a massive shift in this area.
Well, I mean, this shouldn't even be a debate. A child can't drive a car. A child can't get a tattoo. A child can't enter into a contract. So a child shouldn't be able to decide whether or not they want to get life-changing, altering surgery where they can't procreate in the future and they lose the ability to even have any pleasure in a normal relationship. So, yes, this is obvious that they need to stop it for children. And if you're over 18, listen, I'm not an anti this and that. You can do what you want to do. But for children, no, it is a crime. And I think it should be a crime to tell a child they're born in the wrong body. So this is a serious thing. The Trump administration, once again, another win for the Trump administration.
And I really do appreciate, though the policies may be similar to the UK and other parts of the world, I do appreciate that very bold language we heard there from Caroline Levitt, because that's how many people see this, and that's what it essentially is. And to try to, use more sensitive language as opposed to saying that we are doing enormous damage to these kids. We are essentially mutilating them, and they're not shy about saying it how it is. Now, before you go, Alex, you've been out there doing the Lord's work again, confronting anti-Elon Musk protesters with your musical gifts.
I don't give a damn because I'm feeling great. And I just know that he's going to penetrate. He's got a lot of babies. I believe in evolution, that all of us immigrated from Africa. I don't believe in evolution. I don't believe in evolution. No, I don't believe that we evolved from pond scum. Reality doesn't matter to you? No, that's not reality. That's a theory, and you don't understand the difference. The Big Bang Theory is just a theory. Nothing is proven.
So tell me about your days, Alex. You just roam the streets looking for these lefties losing it and just, break into song. I'm wondering how you're doing all this, and how did you have the lyrics ready to go? How did you know where he was going to go? It's essential to know how you go about your processes, Alex.
Well, Rita, I'm Primetime 99 Alex Stein, the pimp on the blimp, the town hall terror, the #1 city council rapper in the world. So when I go to these protests, Rita, they're there, quite often at that Tesla Cedar Springs service center. So I went out there and I was battling them because they wouldn't talk to me. So I said, hey, let me try to rap them. Maybe that'll make them laugh. And they did laugh. But Rita, I was just trying to out absurd them. And I think I did the job, but now I'm embarrassed. Millions of people are going to see this, Rita. So I didn't expect you to play it. So thank you. I appreciate it. Everybody go, follow me. But man, I'm embarrassed. I hope my dad doesn't watch this.
Follow Alex, because this is what he does day in and day out. He's out there and he's having these confrontations and somehow not getting himself bashed, which we're grateful for. Alex Stein, thank you so much for your time.